Howdy, my name is Christine Stivers and welcome to my portfolio for the Masters of Science in Educational Human Resource Development. I am a second generation Texas A&M Aggie from Corpus Christi, Texas, but I currently live with my amazing family in Ogden, Utah, which is a little north of Salt Lake City. I graduated from Texas A&M with a Bachelor's of Anthropology in May of 2013, and since then I have lived and worked all over the country in many diverse professional roles like coaching, training, sales, legal services, and each one of those experiences ultimately led me to want to know more and to begin graduate school. And as a bonus, I would begin graduate school at the best university, Texas A&M. Gig 'em. When I began to explore options for master's programs that I felt like could boost my career development and hopefully open some new doors, I remember first doing a personal inventory of what I knew I was good at, not only to have a handle on those strengths, but to find out how those strengths coupled with other skills that I knew I had could be applied to learning something new and maybe stepping into other professional areas. I knew I was good at making connections with people, at being a leader, a supporter, a listener. I was and still am an excellent athletics coach, and I knew that that coaching DNA I have could be applied to many areas of professional life and other career paths. I knew that I cared deeply about helping others solve problems and helping them become capable of handling whatever challenges may come their way. I also reflected on positive and negative work experiences that I've had in different kinds of workplaces and what those experiences taught me about behavior and learning. After all of that reflection, I was able to articulate a desire to know more about how and why individuals learn and how they receive information the way that they do, and how to effectively communicate the need to learn and to overcome resistance to change that I had so often seen in organizations that I've been a part of. Ultimately, I knew that I had an eagerness to know more about how to develop better skilled people who can be successful and productive and happy in all areas of life. And all of this combined led me directly to Educational Human Resource Development, or EHRD. Now, at the end of the program, I can confidently say that all of those learning objectives I had and many more have been met. And now I have a deeper understanding for learning and practical knowledge and tools to create authentic learning experiences for those I will work with in the future. With all of that being said, I'm very proud of the work I have done and the academic achievements I've made throughout this master's program. This portfolio website showcases what I feel like have been some of my most significant pieces of work, with some being completed as part of an academic team, which working as a team on scholarly research projects is a transformative learning experience in and of itself, and I will talk a little bit more about that later on. On the homepage, you can see that I've organized my portfolio by categorizing the work into core concepts that I believe to be most essential in EHRD. You'll find them above in the tabs and at the top of the website, and they are educational philosophy, adult learning, strategic thinking, and change theory. I want to walk you through each of these pages of my website portfolio and discuss my experience with these concepts. So let's get into it. First is educational philosophy. I wanted to start here with my portfolio review because every course I took contributed in some way to building on and understanding how I approach teaching and learning. As I note on the page, having a firm grasp of my own self-concept developed through reflection on experience and through the EHRD coursework allows me to have much more of an understanding and resolve about how my values, beliefs, and experiences shape how I approach teaching and learning and even leadership. When maybe before I was finding success in coaching and training and leadership, but I wasn't practicing these skills with any purpose or vision. I was simply doing based on experience and blind confidence in my ability to adapt and overcome. Now, with this deeper understanding of how my educational philosophy has an impact on my decision-making and method choices, I'm able to communicate to others, and especially to those in power, why and how a learning strategy will work. And I'm able to adapt my methods to fit to any learning environment while staying true to my own fundamentals. When instructed to articulate my teaching philosophy, I found a lot of what was discussed in this book, Teaching Adults, a Practical Guide for New Teachers by Ralph Brockett, to be very helpful. This book was introduced to me in EHRD 616, Methods of Teaching Adults. And Brockett explains that good teaching is not just about helping learners master an area of knowledge, but it's also about helping them grow as human beings and to find ways to integrate what they have learned into themselves, into their everyday lives. And I approach education in this exact same progressive way. Next, you'll find a position paper from EHRD 612, Training and Development. I chose to showcase this because it required critical reflection on the interconnectedness between adult learning theory, realities of learner behavior, contexts of adult learning, and concepts in training and development. My critique was informative for building on my own perceptions for how pressures of motivation and environment can influence a learner. Last year, I've included one of my first assignments ever to be submitted in the master's program. It's from EHRD 603, Foundations of HRD. I was dusting off my creative writing skills and starting a tremendous learning journey. This paper demonstrates my very basic concept of the impact of learning on the individual and on an organization. And I kind of like to look back on it now just to see how much more detailed and multifaceted my understanding of adult learning has become here now at the end of the program. As I said before, I believe that all of this coursework was building on my self-concept as an educator. It was difficult to choose which would be highlighted here in educational philosophy, but I believe it's evident in all of my work that I revere the learner as incredibly capable, and I believe it is my job as an educator to guide and motivate a learner's own capacity for self-directed learning, which can be the most transformative and meaningful. And with this in mind, we go on to the next page of the portfolio, which is adult learning. I feel like the bedrock of EHRD is truly made up of adult learning theory. The principles of adult learning directly inform how we do everything, like design learning experiences, host trainings, make strategic decisions about learning, provide mentorship and coaching for learners, and so much more. First, I want to highlight these two texts, The Adult Learner and Learning in Adulthood. I found these to be applicable to almost every assignment I had throughout the coursework. I was glad to have been introduced to these texts early on in the program. That way I became very well versed in the work of Knowles, Lindemann, Tuff, Rogers, Mesereau, and many others who contributed to the body of knowledge of adult learning theory. The work I've chosen to showcase here are related to the core concept of adult learning in two ways. First, each of these are in-depth analyses on the unique context in which adults learn and my reflections on my own experiences as they relate to really understanding the principles of adult learning. And second, really all of my coursework, and specifically those here on this page, are examples of times when I was engaging in personal transformative learning, wherein the principles of adult learning were acting as a force upon me. The metacognitive essay and personal learning audits from EHRD 630, Adult Learning, were earlier assignments in my coursework, and I remember being quite intimidated when I read the requirements. But after they were complete, I had such a sense of accomplishment, and I had developed this perceived capacity for completing really challenging coursework, which was highly motivating and empowering. I had learned that I was more than able to bring together theories and concepts and perspectives to create thoughtful and high-quality academic work. And I'd go on to take that confidence into all of my future coursework in the program, and honestly into everything I'll do post-graduation. These learning experiences I now have from completing challenging coursework really has had an impact on almost every aspect of my life. Finally, here on the adult learning page is the teaching portfolio assignment from EHRD 616, Methods of Teaching Adults. Like I explained, this assignment was memorable for two significant reasons: for its application of the principles of adult learning and in my own experiential learning process. I completed this project with a tangible example of creating something new that I had never done before, and that gave me confidence in simply knowing that I could. Now let's go on to strategic thinking. I found this core concept in EHRD to be incredibly important, and many of my favorite projects involved not only the analysis of how individuals, groups, organizations, communities can think and act strategically to meet goals, but these projects were important for learning how to develop the skill of thinking strategically in myself and in others. Being strategic means being proactive instead of reactive, in anticipating needs and finding solutions. And maybe this is a skill I had before beginning the program, but my capacity to think strategically has definitely advanced with all of the coursework and completion of group projects. Some of my work I've showcased on this page was completed as an academic team. My expectations for teamwork and quality contribution to each of these projects was always very high for everyone in the group, which was sometimes very challenging for me mentally and emotionally. When I was so very motivated to do well on each assignment, maybe others on my team did not display that same kind of motivation. Having these new pressures from working with an academic team forced me to find ways to motivate those I was working with to produce their own great work that would benefit the group as a whole. And I'd have to step in at strategic times to ensure the team was meeting deadlines. I am so glad that I was able to work with some excellent and well-rounded teams, but also some that required much more strategic development along the way to end up with excellent A+ work. Both experiences were very beneficial. The Strategic Organization Case Study from EHRD 614, Strategic Planning in HRD, was a momentous project. This project covered many real-world applications in strategic thinking for individual and organizational success. To complete this project, our team had to do extensive strategic planning and work with real people navigating real organizational issues. This resulted in a significant sense of accomplishment and experience with what a professional might do when faced with these kinds of challenges. Other similar projects you'll find on this page are related to organizational development and career development, all of which resulted in practical ways that strategic thinking, planning, and learning is important for goal achievement. I'd like to highlight a significant text related to strategic thinking, and that is Ahead of the Curve, a Guide to Applied Strategic Thinking by Stephen Stowell and Stephanie Mead. This text was fundamental for developing my own methods for thinking strategically and for its insight into how we can anticipate change, stay competitive, and make decisions. This book ultimately shifts our mindset to becoming future-oriented leaders. And last, but certainly not least, is change theory. My academic work surrounding change theory was very rewarding because it felt like I was solving a puzzle and finding a solution. Understanding behavior change really comes from reflection and seeing how myself and others have handled experiences with change. I think having a strong sense for how change has an impact on all aspects of an individual and organizational behavior is imperative for my future work in creating learning experiences that will in fact create real and lasting change. Even after completing this influential coursework, I know that seeking to answer that question about why people accept or resist change will continue throughout my entire personal and professional life.
All right, y'all, my name is Christine Stivers. Thank you for spending time with me and reviewing my master's portfolio. I'm out here today at Snow Basin Ski Resort in Utah. Giga Maggies, now watch this.